Welcome to the STR Home Financing Podcast, where we believe a legacy is something you build, not just something you leave behind. And now, here's your host, Jeff Chisum.
Hey, this is Jeff Chisum with the STR Home Financing Podcast. Welcome to another episode of 3 Things That You Should Know, where we bring in industry experts to explore different segments of owning a short-term rental, buying a short-term rental, and have a really special guest that you haven't heard from in a while. So very excited to bring them on today. So it's been a minute. I've lost track of time since I released a new episode. So for my audience that stays tuned to new content, I do apologize. Go back to the beginning of June. We closed on a new primary residence. So took my own advice that I give a lot of my clients, which is take advantage of this market. Rates are up. The pool of buyers is down. So you're going to find yourself in a situation where you can find a deal that wouldn't be there in a environment where the rates are lower. Took advantage of that, found a house off market in an area that we had tried to buy in almost 2 years ago and could not win a deal. Ended up buying a house in a outlying area to the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. Great place, acre, pond, had the sports court, pool. It was paradise, but we found ourselves driving just entirely way too much. We had bought a new vehicle to replace my truck for the betterment of the family, bought a fuel efficient vehicle because we were driving so much, and proceeded to put 25,000 miles on that car in a 6-month period. Just quality of life from that standpoint had gone down. We identified we needed to move back from where we had moved from and found a great house, instant equity, and we proceeded to go through 2 months of remodeling, threw in 2 vacations, started off at the Texas Gulf Coast, spent a week there, had all the family in, great time, came back to renovations. I think at one point had 6 different contractors in the house. So it was a mess. It was a process. It's been a journey. Went to the lake house for a week. That was great. Came back to the same. Last week was the first few days in 2 months where we had not had anyone in our house working on it. So into that journey and ready to get back into the swing of things, back in the saddle here, recording podcast episodes. And that leads us to this episode, where bring in someone who has 100% committed themselves to the short-term rental space. It's 100% of their business. This is a 16-year veteran in the mortgage business and has helped hundreds of people buy short-term rentals. So surprise mystery guest is myself. If that's a disappointment, I apologize, but really felt like it was an ideal time to bring an episode where I talk about the 3 most important things when you're considering refinancing out of that loan that you used this year, maybe the end of last year, to acquire a vacation home, second home that you're utilizing as a short-term rental. The kind of phrase that's been going around, the idea is marry the house, date the rate, with the expectation that we're going to see better days when it comes to rates. We really thought that was going to be in March. There was mixed data that came in, really threw off the experts that I follow that said rates would start going down in March. So we find ourselves in a situation where we're about the same as we were at the beginning of the year, just the cost a little bit higher, but the opportunity is still the same. The pool of buyers is smaller. The opportunity to land a deal is better. So we're taking on that high rate. We're getting in the deal. We're taking advantage of real estate prices as they sit today and have that expectation that there'll be better days to come to take advantage of a lower interest rate. So what are the things that you need to know when that time comes? So number 1 is you want to be very careful when you change anything within your financial picture between now and then. So what do I mean by that? Really comes down to debt to income ratio. You don't want to put yourself in a position where you take on new debt and it throws you into a position where your debt to income ratio is going to exceed what's allowed for that second home occupancy loan. So when the time comes to refinance, that will still be that product, that second home occupancy loan, because that's where we're going to find the more favorable interest rates versus an investment property loan. So that's number one. If you take on the new car payment, you take on any new debt, you may want to visit with a lender to explore where your debt to income ratio sits. So if you did that loan with me, then we can look and see if adding that new debt may jeopardize your ability to refinance that loan when the time comes. Number two is you cannot refinance that loan and hold title in an LLC. So when you go to refinance, you need to make sure that that title is held in your individual name. Now, can you go back and change it? Yes. But at time of refinance, it needs to be in your individual name. Number three is you want to make sure that even though you're only committed to the occupancy requirements for 1 year in that second home occupancy loan, that hasn't changed at the time of refinance. So if your plan was, I'm going to own it a year, I'm going to enjoy it, and then after a year, I'm going to sign a 1-year lease with someone, or you're going to do midterm rentals where contractually you lose control over the ability to occupy that property when you want to, that's going to disqualify you from using that second home occupancy loan. So you want to continue to utilize that property as a second home, continue to enjoy it, continue to rent it out on a short-term basis, so that you're not losing the control over the ability to occupy that property when you want to, which is the definition and meets the requirements of that second home occupancy loan. So happy to visit about any of the particular specific scenarios around what you may be facing, but those are the top 3 things that you need to consider for what I feel will be where we're going to see favorable rates. What are favorable rates for most people? Where we see at least a 1% reduction in your current interest rates to make the cost worth refinancing into a lower interest rate. So hopefully that helps. Always happy to jump on a call. Until next time.
Jeff Chisum is a registered mortgage loan officer with CMG Home Loans, NMLS ID 1820. CMG Home Loans is an equal housing lender. All programs, products, and terms discussed on this show are subject to change without notice.